Morning, everyone, and welcome to Fox 5 on Fox Local. I'm Alex Whitler. My colleague Elise Edie is off this Monday morning. Thank you so much for choosing to live stream with us, however you do so. We are available on the Fox 5 Atlanta website, right there on our homepage. We're also available to you on the free Fox Local app for your smartphones and streaming devices, and even on the Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. That is pivotal to making this a news conversation. We want this to feel different from what you see on television. So if you leave me a comment, I should be able to address it in real time. So let's keep it appropriate and talk about the stories that we have on hand here today, and we can have a good time. That said, our first story is a pretty serious one. We are talking about the government shutdown as we're inching toward the historic part here. You might remember the last time we had a historic government shutdown. It was 35 days. Well, today we are on day 34 of it. And meanwhile, we're hearing reports of flight delays and cancellations due to staffing shortages because of those essential workers you hear us talking about so often, air traffic controllers. So it's not just affecting Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, where you're looking live right now. It's affecting airports all across the United States. Millions of Americans who rely on food stamps are also struggling to put food on the table. So this is two different scopes that we're focusing in on. We'll tell you what a federal judge says President Trump must do about it this week. So again, two different topics, two different approaches, two different angles to the government shutdown. So we will start at the airport. If any of you are traveling or planning to do so, we know many of you end up traveling during the holiday travel rush, right? So a lot of people are thinking about the further impacts this could have. Well, the FAA says those staffing shortages are causing a whole bunch of delays and cancellations. A spokesperson for Hartsfield-Jackson says there are no shortages at our FAA tower, but we are seeing ripple effects from other cities. So over the weekend, we saw more than 200 delays Sunday alone, and more than half involved the hometown airline, Delta flights. So we're keeping the pulse on the days, delays, and cancellations. So we're talking about right now, today, Monday, November 3rd. As of 8:30 a.m. today, there were 26 total delays within, into, or out of the United States at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. There were 12 cancellations, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you think of the number of people that can fit on a flight, sometimes anywhere from 60 to 120 plus people, that's a lot of affected lives here. Again, those cancellations are addressing the flights within, into, or out of the United States today at Hartsfield-Jackson. So Delta flight attendants were expected to protest outside the airport starting at 10 a.m. today. It's just another example of the people who are trying to make their voices heard during the government shutdown. They say that they're fighting for real sick leave, due process, pay protection, and a whole lot more. So this is happening as hundreds of people are expected in the city for Delta Management's Velvet Conference. So there's a lot happening right about now. Again, you're taking this live look as we see those planes, those parked there, but we've also seen some taking off and landing, which is good news, but that doesn't mean it's not still an issue for us. So all that said, we want to focus on what's happening with SNAP, because so many people have said that they are a recipient of this sort of government funding, and we want to make sure that we're keeping you guys up to date on how this could impact you, especially if you're one of those people who receive SNAP benefits. So two federal judges ruled almost simultaneously last Friday that President Donald Trump's administration must continue to fund SNAP. Of course, you know that's the nation's biggest food aid program. They plan to have the Trump administration do this by using contingency funds during the government shutdown. So for now, we're going to focus on just one of those two federal judges. I'm talking about Rhode Island Judge John J. McConnell, who ordered the Trump administration to either present a plan to fully fund SNAP today or restart at least partial SNAP funding by Wednesday. McConnell rejected the USDA's argument that the multi-billion-dollar contingency fund would not be used because of the shutdown. So we did take a look at that order, and in it, McConnell wrote, and I quote here, "There is no question that the congressionally approved contingency funds must be used now because of the shutdown. In fact, the president during his first term issued guidance indicating that these contingency funds are available if SNAP funds lapse due to a government shutdown." So that's something of note here. Now, over the weekend, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the government won't appeal the decision, so it sounds like they are going to cooperate here. And Bessent said that the group hopes to be able to comply once it figures out the process, right? We have made it into uncharted territory here. So in the meantime, nonprofit organizations are scrambling to fill in the gaps. Those receiving food aid say these giveaways that you're looking at on your screen really help them survive until the government can fix this mess that we're in. And that sort of leads us off into our local coverage of things. We've got a whole team of reporters and photographers who are out there at food banks, at events, trying to make sure you know how to keep yourself and your family full, right? We want to make sure you have something to eat. So over in the Sweet Auburn neighborhood, Good Earth, the Atlanta-based nonprofit, focused on hunger relief, is packing up a whole bunch of meals for affected families. They're delivering food bags to those in need. So we sent Chris Rosenthal over there to get an idea of how things are going, and it looks very busy behind you there. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Good morning. Yeah, it is very busy behind me, actually. Senator Warnock's expected to show up here shortly and take a look at things here. But yeah, this market, the community market here on Edgewood, it's been open since about July. And the CEO here, she tells me that they just recently got approval for SNAP funding, and they have seen 60-70% increase just since they've gotten that approval. That shows you the kind of need in this area. Some low-income people. They also have a lot of seniors. They say they feed probably about 1,500 or so seniors just in this area alone. And they tell me that a lot of these people are expressing concerns over what's happening with the cut in SNAP funding. They are taking donations for $10. You can help fund a grab bag, a meal that will feed a family of up to 4. I think for an extra $5 or so, they can actually get out and deliver those meals to families and seniors especially who may not be able to get out. But yeah, this grocery store, it's it's a small grocery store, but they have a lot of food items that you'd see in any other grocery store and at a discount. In some cases, they say 20 to 40% discount. They're not here to make money. They're here to not here to make a profit. They're here to serve the community. But a lot of people in those communities, in the community are, without the SNAP funding, are still gonna struggle with this.
Oh, absolutely. Chris, I'm not sure if you can hear me right now, but I remember hearing in one of our meetings that we might be able to hear from the Good Earth founder and CEO. I don't know if we'll have too much time to get into that, but have you spoken to Jasmine Crow Houston? Has she told you anything about their efforts?
Yes, yeah. I spoke with her earlier. In fact, actually, here she is meeting with Senator Warnock right now. But yeah, she said that a lot of these customers, they're worried. She's hearing a lot of concern. Since they've had SNAP funding approved for them in October. She said they've seen about a 60-70% increase in customers. So that in sales, that just shows you the kind of need there is in this area.
Yeah, Good Earth is really a force in the Atlanta area. We've covered them plenty of times, so we know how much people rely on them. Chris, if you don't mind, while you're showing us all of those images, I want to read to you one of the comments that we just received on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. I see someone who wants to go by beauty, and the B1123 says that she's a mother of 4 and she's really struggling to feed her kids right now. So this is impacting some real people. Thank you for leaving that comment. We appreciate it. If you don't mind, let us know. Are you in the Atlanta area, the greater North Georgia area? We do have resources to help on our website, fox5atlanta.com. I'll give you more information on that in just a bit. But Chris, while I do have you, I just want to point out that, yes, that is Senator Raphael Warnock there for what appears to be a press conference. And it sounds like Fox 5's Deidre Dukes is going to have all of that information for you guys sometime throughout the day, at least on Fox 5 News at 4 o'clock. So we do appreciate this coverage from all angles. Okay, Chris, we'll touch base with you a bit later on today. Thanks again. So we've been talking about these food banks and how they're just inundated with requests, like maybe from the woman that I mentioned who commented on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. And while so much attention is on the giant food banks and mega churches that are helping to feed people, we are still keeping an eye out on the smaller, more hyper-local pantries who are doing their part, trying to do their best to keep shelves stocked while the demand for food just keeps rising during this government shutdown. So we're talking about Solidarity Sandy Springs. Fox 5's Kim Luffler is live there now. I want to do a quick check to see if Kim can hear me. Hi, Kim. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, it looks like it's really busy behind you, just like what we saw in Chris's live shot. So walk us through what's happening. I'll just give you the floor.
Yeah, so the story here really, while there is certainly a demand of people coming into the food bank, it's also been people donating food and donating money so that they can keep the food bank stored. I'm going to step out of the way, and right now they are kind of restocking all of their shelves here. This is actually some food that they went out and purchased with money that was donated from people here in the community. I'm told they put out a call for help on Friday ahead of the SNAP benefits running out on Saturday, and this has been what's happened. The community here, not just in Sandy Springs, but also throughout the area, responded, donating money, donating food, so they were able to keep these shelves stocked. So this is somewhere that anyone who lives here in Sandy Springs can come in and and get some food, at 3 times throughout the week. And one of the employees here that we spoke with told me that they did have a federal worker come through earlier before last week rather, and they said that that federal worker was just in tears being able to come in here and get the food. They said this really, and even just being in here really does feel just like a normal grocery store, which is kind of their point, that they want to make sure people feel comfortable coming in and getting this food. So while there certainly has been a demand, they have seen more people coming in, it really has been what's been standing out to the people here at this food bank has been the support from the community and people just really giving their food, their money to make sure that people have what they need in this time.
Mm-hmm. Kim, I've been trying to make sure that our viewers on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel feel included in this news conversation. I want to point out another comment that we received that's more related to what we were talking about with Chris. We saw Senator Raphael Warnock there at the Gooder headquarters. Someone just full-blown says that Warnock is behind all of this being the government shutdown. And I want to point out that a couple of weeks ago we were reporting that both of our senators actually voted in favor of a different Republican push to try to fund the government. So it's interesting to just hear how each person is catching little bits and pieces of the news, the big headline being that we're still in a government shutdown and it's affecting people from the airport to their kitchen pantries. So thank you for showing us how this initiative is working to keep people fed. Okay, Kim, we'll see you a bit later on. Okay, we do want to focus on ways to get you the help that you need. I talked about this a little bit earlier. So if you go to our website, fox5atlanta.com, you will not just see that we're streaming there for you 24/7. We've got resources. We've got links, a county-by-county guide on how to keep your family fed, especially if you are a SNAP recipient and you're just sort of in limbo right now, waiting to get an update on what's happening with the government shutdown, if the Trump administration has complied with these orders from federal judges. So all of that is available to you, not just on our website at the page that you're seeing here, but it's also on the free Fox Local app. Hopefully, we're giving you some news you can use there. That said, we hope you'll stick around because we do have a lot more to talk about. Gosh, 96 of you watching on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. I hope to see all 96 of you right after this because we've got to talk about weather and the care employee who is headed to Jamaica to make a difference post-Hurricane Melissa. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, welcome back to Fox 5 on Fox Local, or Fox 5 Live as we like to call it around here. Thank you so much for streaming us 24/7 on the Fox 5 Atlanta website. We're also streaming on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. We've had some meaningful conversations with those of you who have left us comments. Please continue to do so because we can see your comments in real time. The whole goal to make this feel less like a newscast and more like a news conversation. So that said, we brought in Jonathan Stacy to continue this talk. We are now talking about the weather because it's been a little bit of everything lately. Yesterday we got a whole bunch of rain. Today it sounds like we might get a hint of sunshine.
So when you woke up this morning, it looked like the sun was not going to shine because the clouds were hanging pretty low. And in some areas, especially up north, that we had lower visibilities because there were clouds on the ground, which means that there was fog. Yeah. But all of that is burned off. And if you walked outside in the past hour, you see that the sun is large and in charge. It is back in command and in control. After we had a quick frontal passage to give us a few showers yesterday evening. We were actually out and about yesterday.
We sure were.
And the event wrapped up right before the rain came in.
Hallelujah.
It was a brief stay and then a couple drops in the rain gauge overnight. Most communities got less than a ½ inch. But this kicks off a week of pretty quiet weather. After last week, I think we deserve it. We were keeping our eyes on Hurricane Melissa, but dealing dealing with multiple or successive frontal passages through our area. Well, the front of this week is already passed, and so we're feeling that cooler air kick off the morning. Right now in Atlanta, we're at 51 degrees, still on either side of the 50-degree mark as you make your way up north. Blairsville, you have a long way to climb, but you are climbing. You're currently at 42 degrees, so it's a pretty nice setup for the day to come. In terms of the temperature climb, I'm not looking at anything exciting. The average temperature for this time of the year in terms of highs, 68 degrees. We're going to fall about 4 degrees short of that to make it to our high temperature today, which is around 68 degrees. Overall, the forecast is trending in a pretty nice direction if you want some warmer air. That warmer air will be afoot tomorrow afternoon as temperatures rise above average for this time of the year, and we'll post 70s for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But what goes up, I can't say it must come down. It will come down, and it will come down into Monday and Tuesday of next week. We're already looking at long-range modeling that suggests that temperatures here in metro Atlanta and on the south side could fall to or below freezing, and in the mountains into the 20s. So a very rare deep freeze coming possibly next week. So why do I kind of skip ahead or jump cut to next week? Well, this is the gift that you have in front of you. So if you're a warm weather person like me, this is pretty much November warmth, if you will. Get outside, embrace it, and enjoy it. Get some lawn work done. Go outside, get some exercising in, do all the things you need to do. If you're one of those early decorators, you want to get your Christmas stuff out early. Not me, but nonetheless, this is a week to do it because there is some trouble on the horizon lurking with some really, really unprecedentedly cold temperatures in store for the week ahead. And even if we don't get into the 20s, 30s, yeah, that's still kind of, that would be a shock to the system. So enjoy the day that is. In terms of the rain situation, I don't really see a great chance for rain coming, but we'll give you a 20% chance for rain for Friday and Saturday. By Sunday, a slightly higher chance for rain, but this cold front is not about what is in front of it, meaning the showers and the clouds, but it's what's behind it, and that is that Canadian cold air.
Ooh. Gosh, we'll be mentally prepared for it. I do want to acknowledge our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel because it is popping off with the comments right now. I see you guys are very well aware of the things that have been happening in our area. People noticed that there was a Vineyard Fest at Chateau Alon.
Yeah,
people are asking.
It's cracking me up. Was that a signing there, or did you mention it earlier?
No, someone just commented it. So they must have been very aware of what we post online. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. Someone was asking if we've ever been to the Biltmore. Have you? I have.
I have been to the Biltmore many times. Yeah. So, and it's that time of the year to do all of those fall-like things. And so, in terms of this weekend, if you're trying to sneak out and do something, maybe go to a winery. Pumpkin patches are still around. Apple picking, something that's still happening. We probably want to squeeze those in before there's a deep chill.
Okay.
Plants and trees are real finicky around this time of the year. Seeing the foliage, we're getting into that peak foliage season. The first 2 weeks in November, really kind of prime time, especially across the North Georgia mountains. If this chill sets in and then we have a couple fronts moving through, that's going to really knock those leaves off fairly quickly. And also, too, the driving up of the wind means that the longer they're on the tree, the less likely they're going to be able to hang on if we get some strong winds.
Well, yeah, and that's why I mentioned that.
Going ahead and going up there.
Because we love the leaf peeping season when you drive north, of course, even further north than the Chateau Alon area. Sure. And you want to see those reds, those orange hues. So does it look like we're going to get any of that?
Yeah, I think you definitely will. Sometimes not getting a lot of rainfall can, kind of mute the colors. But we have got some a decent amount of rainfall over the past couple of weeks that will help the foliage look a bit more vibrant.
Okay.
I think that is an additive to seeing some really good color. And then also, too, we're just kind of in that prime time. So a lot of people tend to think fall foliage October, but it's really November, especially around our neck of the woods. Your October is generally for the higher Appalachians or the northern Appalachian mountains. So getting up there this weekend, I know there will be some cloud cover around. But, you know, a 73-degree temperature on a Saturday afternoon and you have bright, vibrant colors, that's not too bad. I can deal with the clouds and maybe a passing shower.
Yeah.
I just want to say get it in earlier than not, because if you say, well, I'm going to wait till next week, we get a cold front comes through and there are some pretty generous gusts topping 35, 40 miles an hour, and the leaves become a bit fragile. That could just knock the whole thing out the picture. Yeah. So it's one of those kind of things, if you wait too long, you're taking a chance not in seeing the colors, but are there going to be other frictional aspects that kind of say, leaves, you got to go. Like I said, I would game for this weekend, and I'm one of these kind of people. Weekends, y'all are everywhere. Just everybody's outside, and I can't always do it, everybody being outside. So maybe sneaking in a Friday or something. Maybe ideal.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
It does lend itself to long lines. We're used to that, Atlanta traffic, things of that nature.
That's why we go to the mountains to breathe. But everybody goes to the mountains this time of the year.
Yeah, they do. Everyone deserves a break this time of year. We're getting close to that new year. Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate your time. All right, you guys, please stick around because we have a lot more to talk about this hour. I'm looking way further down the road. We're going to be talking about Mental Health Awareness Month, giving you some news you can use in case you're starting to feel a little burnt out as this 2025 year comes to an end. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, welcome back to Fox 5 on Fox Local. We've got an important conversation to have with you this hour about efforts, local ones, to help Jamaica and other Caribbean countries get back on their feet after historic Hurricane Melissa. So joining me now to talk about this all is Jonathan Arrighetti. He is a representative from CARE. Perhaps you've heard about this organization. Its effort is essentially what it stands for: cooperative assistance and relief everywhere. Thank you so much for your time and good morning.
Good morning, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So it's my understanding that you've got just a couple of hours before you set sail, if you will, for Jamaica. How did this come to be? When did you say, yeah, this is the opportunity that I need to help with?
Sure. Well, CARE, as you said, it's a local organization based here in Atlanta, but we are a humanitarian organization. We work in over 100 countries around the world, and one of those countries we work in is Jamaica. So Hurricane Melissa, even though it passed last week, the effects are still being felt. I'm getting reports even as early as this morning. People are still out sleeping in the open. They're needing to go to nearby gas stations to use the bathroom because their bathrooms have been destroyed. And as soon, even before Melissa passed, CARE and our partners, we were on the ground preparing different populations across Jamaica for this hurricane. But what we're seeing is really devastating. A Category 5 hurricane with over 185 mile-per-hour winds. Over 1 million people are affected. CARE, we are always there, and we, as soon as the hurricane passed, we made arrangements to start getting our teams into the country.
I want to just give people an idea of how serious this sort of help is. Jamaica as a country really runs on tourism. I mean, you see these beautiful images of people on their bamboo boats at an Airbnb at a resort. That is how many people are making their money to have their bread and butter. So to see the island the way it looks now in these aerial images that we're seeing is really daunting for people, especially those who are from Jamaica who are now living here in the United States. They're still trying to see if their family members are okay. So have you gotten any guidance or any word on anyone that's been hurt? Have you gotten any update on if you might be helping those kinds of people?
Yeah, unfortunately, the official reports as of this morning were that 28 people did lose their lives, and we mourn for them and their families. There will be dozens more, if not hundreds more, who are injured, and we'll see those numbers as field hospitals get stood up, because many of the hospitals across the western part of the country have been severely damaged. There's a huge diaspora community, not just in Jamaica, but in Haiti and in Cuba, here in the Atlanta area, and I've been hearing round the clock from members of those communities here in Atlanta reaching out, being concerned for their families. Of course, every time we hear of a positive reunion, our hearts are lifted, and I hear those every single day. The cell phone connections, particularly in the West, are not fully back online yet. But again, every time we hear those connections, our hearts are lifted, and that's what gives us the inspiration to keep supporting those most in need on the ground.
So before I get into how you got involved with CARE, I'm curious as to how anyone who's watching this can help. If we're pulling on their heartstrings and they're going, gosh, I would really like to help out those communities, what can they do?
So first and foremost, keep talking about it. The hurricane would have passed last week, but the effects are going to be long lasting. So continue to talk to your friends, to your neighbors about what's going on around the world. For those that are interested and have the financial means to support, that's the most effective and efficient way to surge resources into Jamaica right now. CARE is one of the organizations that are working on the ground with partners. You can support us by going to care.org/Melissa. Again, care.org/Melissa.
And we've got that website up on the screen now, just in case someone didn't hear it and they're only able to see it. You might want to write it down. We're going to leave this up for you a little bit longer. But just on a personal note, Jonathan, how did you get involved with CARE?
I've spent my life caring about people here at home. Atlanta is my hometown, but also all around the world. I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer, and I'm so glad to be working back in my hometown of Atlanta at an organization like CARE that's able to support people in, again, more than 100 countries around the world with life-saving humanitarian assistance in those moments most of need.
Yeah, I can tell this is very on brand for the kind of person that you are, just hearing your background. I hope that you go there, that you make a huge difference, that you're able to report back some positive change. And I wish you a safe flight coming up in what, just about 6.5 hours now.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for having me on, Alex, and the concern, and looking forward to maybe talking with you from Jamaica or when I'm back home as well.
That would be great. I hope you're serious about that. I know we here on Fox 5 Live would absolutely appreciate seeing that perspective of a local man in Jamaica trying to make a difference. Hopefully there will be a connection, but you know how to find us. We know how to find you. We will definitely keep in touch.
Great. Thanks, Alex. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You as well. Hopefully all of you will stick with us, because we're having that important conversation about mental health very soon. See ya. Great to see you're all still here. Thank you for being with us for this very important conversation about mental health that we're having with Dr. Shamira Webb, a local who is no stranger to these difficult conversations that we're having, like the one we're having right now on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. I can see your comments in real time. I see you guys are very passionate this morning. You're talking about the government shutdown. You're talking about people's needs, their finances, lack of food. You're also empathetic of those who are in Jamaica. You're acknowledging that some of us have it bad here, but some people have it even worse elsewhere. So I appreciate you being mindful with this conversation. That said, November is officially Educator Mental Health and Awareness Month here in Georgia.
Correct.
So tell me about what that means, why that is something that people like you, professionals, doctors, are shining a light on.
So I have spent 25 years in education. Most of my career has been as a school counselor. And so I've learned firsthand and just through experience of talking to educators about the emotional labor that educators carry. So basically emotional labor is that internal work that is done when you have to kind of regulate your own emotions so that you can show up for your students every day. And that takes a toll on educators, and I think it's a conversation that's not talked about enough. We talk a lot about academics and filling that gap, but there's also a social emotional gap that educators feel every day when they show up, kind of suppress their own things going on in their life so they can show up as their best selves for their students. So I feel like we need to talk about that more so we can make sure that educators have a safe space to feel and be human.
And with all that said, I just think of the news around us and how parents right now might be having difficult conversations with their kids about feeding them, about being able to afford bills. That ripple effect can come into the classroom, right?
Correct.
I've heard of educators, teachers saying that they've had students ask them for $10.
Yes.
And what a difficult situation to be in. You as a teacher cannot give that child $10, even if you want to. So let's talk about that. How do you suggest educators handle these very difficult conversations they might be having with their kids?
So I think for educators, we're going to show up. And then when I say educators, I mean not just teachers, I mean school counselors, school social workers, and leaders. We're going to give everything we could possibly give to our students. And so these conversations are happening in the classroom, and that's where that emotional labor comes from when they're coming in and they have food insecurities, and they tell the teacher, I have a food, I'm not eating. My parent is having difficulty paying bills and things like that. So they're having these conversations with their students, being the best that they can be for their students and enlisting the help of their school counselors as well. But like I say, in the meantime, they're suppressing all the things that they may be going through. So they're working with the parents, they're working with the school counselors to ensure that students have what they need socially, emotionally, and having those tough conversations at school as well.
So a lot of educators talk about the expenses, not just from their own salary, right? But to decorate a classroom, to make it visually appealing to some young minds that might be easily distracted. They talk about how the pandemic really affected them as well. We are 5, almost 6 years removed from the beginning of that debacle. But what are some of the issues that teachers, educators are telling you they're experiencing today?
I think one of the main things is that we talk a lot about the achievement gap. We talk a lot about academics, which is, a real thing, especially post-pandemic. One of the things that they're feeling like they're not being heard on is that they are also feeling that big social emotional gap for their students. A lot of their students missed some of those important developmental things socially and emotionally. They're filling that in, but they don't feel like they're being heard because for the academic gap, it's kind of, another initiative, another program, longer days and more planning, and feeling like people are not understanding that they need the space to breathe when you're making schedules and things like that, having conversations with them, hearing their voice. So they have things such as like a lunch break. Most educators will tell you they don't have time to eat lunch or they don't feel like they do. Restroom breaks, things like that. So just making sure that they feel heard because they're the ones that are kind of on that front line in the classroom and that decisions aren't being made without their well-being being considered.
It's interesting because this is a mental health initiative that is specifically focused on educators.
Correct.
but I can't help but think of some of the similarities throughout other industries as well, right? So can we just talk about that? What is it that you want people to take away from this month? I know the governor just gave it the thumbs up for this acknowledgement. Congratulations. I know that's something that you had been pushing for.
Thank you.
But what else needs to be done? You gave us some tangibles, breaks, bathroom and lunch ones. But what else?
So awareness that, one, this is a real thing. You know, educators are showing up every day and taking on more than just the academic task. So we need to acknowledge that educators have a unique need in order to make sure that they have time and space to recharge. And also systematically, we need to start looking at the school systems and the school districts when they're creating initiatives, programs, even like I say at the local school level, schedules, that we're making sure that teachers have the room to recharge, to reset, so that they can be the best for their students. I would also like to see that mental health days for educators do not take their sick days, because right now you can take mental health days, but it takes away
being sick.
Right. So what happens when I'm physically sick, or my child or my spouse is physically sick? Now I'm stressed and not taking the mental health day that I need, because who wants to use their sick hours? You may need them. So just making sure that the policies and the system is aligning with what educators really need, and we're really taking care of our educators.
We're just about out of time, but I have always been curious. When students speak to a counselor at school, and we cover it, it's often after some sort of tragedy or some random death. A student might have passed away for completely natural reasons, and now we're talking about how there will be counselors on hand. But do the teachers themselves have access to some of these counselors in those situations?
So a lot of times when school counselors are in the building, they do become that person where teachers can come to. A lot of school systems do have employee assistance programs where they can see counselors that's outside of the district, strictly confidential. So there are a lot of programs, but just teachers finding and educators finding that's feeling like they have the time to actually take the time for myself to do those things. I think that's also a challenge that we have. But there are programs, and they can also speak to school counselors, school social workers. A lot of schools do have things in place.
And I can imagine that then that's a toll on the counselor who's going, I've got to help these kids, but somebody just pulled me aside in the break room and said, let me run this by you really quickly. So it is a ripple effect. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Webb, for your time. We really appreciate it. Hopefully this inspired someone to learn a little bit more.
Thank you.
Of course. Please stick around, because we still have a lot to talk about. We'll continue our news conversation right after this. Good to see you all. Thanks for staying with us for Fox 5 on Fox Local or Fox 5 Live. We, as always, appreciate your time. We've been trying to give you some news you can use, so please let me know what you think by leaving me a comment on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. That is what makes this a news conversation. I can see your comments and questions in real time, and we can work together to try to get some answers. That said, we're starting a conversation now that we hope will inspire you. So this man has gone from U.S. Navy veteran to the corporate world, and now he's a business owner in the home improvement sphere. So let's bring in Stephen Pollitt. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Alex, for having me on and for recognizing our veterans.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your service. I think that goes without saying. But what is it that you want people to take away? I mean, it sounds like your life is living proof that you always have time to be whatever you thought you couldn't be.
It's taking the risk. You know, you can be comfortable in your military career or corporate world, but to leave that, you know, paycheck and start your own, I give a lot of credit to small business owners. It's a big risk, but if you get with the right business, you know, they can help you through it.
So let's start there. How did you transition from the Navy to corporate America?
Okay. Well, I grew up in a proud naval town, Pensacola, Florida. My father served in the Navy during the Korean War, and all of my uncles on both sides of the family served in the Navy. My grandfather was a merchant marine captain whose ship was sunk by a German U-boat during World War II. So service to our country runs deep in my family. After college, I chose to join the Navy, where I was trained in combat systems engineering. And in the Navy, leadership responsibilities come early in your career, and that experience and the discipline learned in the Navy opened doors for me in the corporate world, where I worked for Fortune 100 companies. This past year, I did retire, but you know, after taking a little time off, I felt too young and energetic to stay retired. So I spent 6 months researching companies and franchises, knowing that I wanted to partner with a winner, a business that had a strong brand name and track record.
And
that journey led me to Threshold Brands and Miracle Method. Miracle Method is the largest kitchen and bath surface refinishing company in the nation, which speaks volumes about their quality of service and their brand. And I think what attracted me to their concept in home improvement was they restore rather than replace. They make your kitchen and bath look new without tearing it out and replacement, and saving our customers, you know, 5 to 7 times the cost. So it's smart and sustainable.
Well, a lot of veterans say entrepreneurship gives them a renewed sense of purpose, and it sounds like that's something that you might be able to relate to. So what skills specifically from the Navy do you feel like transitioned over into your other realms of life?
Well, the Navy taught discipline, to move forward with purpose, respect others, and then when things get tough, you know, to push harder. It's really a mindset corporations and franchises value in their leaders.
Mm-hmm. So what qualities do you think other veterans need to really lean in on, whether they're applying to some sort of corporate job or going on their own new business venture?
Well, for small business, you know, like I said earlier, I give them a lot of credit in stepping out and taking that risk. It can be scary, but I'd say with a brand like Miracle Method, you're not alone in it. Miracle Method has been in the business for over 40 years. They perfected the processes and operations, but they also provide, you know, not just guidance and coaching, but you can still bring your leadership skills and people skills to make it your uniquely owned business.
Mm-hmm. What do your colleagues say when they hear that you've essentially had 3 professional lives?
They ask why I'm not enjoying my retirement, and why starting something, you know, from the ground floor. And but you know, I think I want to work until I can't work anymore. So I enjoy work, I enjoy meeting customers, and I enjoy the home improvement business.
Now, you know, I have to ask you, you might laugh, you might not. Did you ever watch the show Home Improvement?
I did.
And did that
did.
inspire you in any way, shape, or form?
No, I've been doing all of my own home improvement for many years. It's something I enjoy. I leave the desk from the corporate job and then in my spare time work on home improvement. So I just enjoy doing it.
Oh, I bet. You know, I have been more inspired, haven't done anything yet, but more inspired to do some work of my own when I see these videos of people, everyday folks, who are taking on projects at home. It makes you feel like if they can do it, then I can do it.
I think anybody can. You just got to try it. If you mess up, keep redoing it until you figure it out. It's not that hard for some.
Well, you're a great example. Thank you so much for your time, your service, sharing some of your expertise as you've navigated a bunch of different pathways in this life. We appreciate your time. How else can people learn about your business?
They can go to miraclemethod.com or thresholdsbrand.com.
Wonderful. Well, we will also have this entire conversation posted on our website in the free Fox Local app. If anyone was just now tuning in and thought, wait a minute, that could have helped me or someone I know or love, don't worry. We'll have all the information for you contained in one easy to find place. Thank you again, Stephen, for your time.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after this. What a great and engaging news conversation this has been here on Fox 5 Live or Fox 5 on Fox Local. We are streaming for you live 24/7 on the Fox 5 Atlanta website. We're also streaming right now on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel, which is why I emphasize that phrase, news conversation, because I can see the comments that you guys are making in real time and comment for you. So I'd like to take a moment to just acknowledge some of the conversation. I see some of you were especially interested in our mental health conversation that we just had with Dr. Webb. You said that there's been a lot of just batterings in your life right now, and you really needed to hear some of that information. I'd be curious to know, are you an educator, or was this something that just struck a chord no matter what industry you were in? I noticed that you guys have been talking about the government shutdown. You've been talking about the people who need help. You've been trying to decipher who actually does need it. Again, we really appreciate your comments. One final note here for us here on Fox 5. We we want to remind you that Election Day is tomorrow. So there's some really big races on the line, including one that could affect how much you pay on your power bills. So we have more information about each race on our website and how to look up your polling information. And we've got to give you those early voting numbers. Just 8.9, almost 9% of the population voted early. So go ahead, get out there and vote tomorrow, Election Day, November 4th. Thank you again for participating in this news conversation. I always appreciate your time. I will see you guys back here Wednesday. Have a great day and stick around because here comes the news at noon.